be back. Great audience today, nice and big. My name's Earl Quenzel with Quenzel and Associates.
My name is Barbara Bologna from Coalition Rewards.
My name is Maggie Olive from Lot British Airlines.
And Alan Laz from Virgin Atlantic.
So last but by no means least, we have Suzanne from Higher Ed Points Inc.
I guess I'm the last thing between us and a cocktail. So
And your time starts.
All right. So Higher Ed Points. The other day, a mom got home from work and she gathered her 4 kids around the kitchen table and her husband, and she goes, "Guys, guess what? I won the Powerball lottery, $35 million. That's the great news. The tough part is your dad and I now can send 2 of you to college." So Higher Ed Points, what do? We actually had our launch. We're probably the newest company here. We launched on November the 1st in Toronto. And if you go and do a search, you'll see some articles that we got in the press, which was very exciting. We actually are enabling families and students and parents and nice people to convert their loyalty program currency into payments for higher education. So you can now use your Airline points to pay for your university. So our thesis, the reason that the business came around is I spent a lot of time in the higher education industry, selling textbooks, and also my last corporate role was running a company called Student Awards, where we helped students find money to pay for school. And the reality, I think everybody in the room would agree with the fact that education is good. Everybody should get an education. The problem is it's really expensive. So our thesis is we need to find a way to tap into alternative sources of funds to help people pay for education. Now the reality is, for anybody in the room who's been at school recently, is trying to put somebody through school, wants to go back to school, is it's really hard to find enough money to go through school without coming out with some sort of debt. And when it comes to financial aid, doesn't matter where you are, it's a feast and a famine, because there's money out there for the really smart people. We've got the uber humans among us, the ones that have the 90% averages, who started volunteering as soon as they were out of diapers, that are going to get all of the top merit-based awards. There are students out there that have a significant financial need, and there's lots of money in Canada and in the US for those students. But that makes up between 20 and 40% of the students, and the rest are the 60% in the middle, and I call them the middle 60, and those are the students whose parents make too much money to qualify them for the financial need-based awards, and the marks are too low for them to ever compete with the thousands of students going after those high-achieving awards. So the gaps between the funds that students have from their own savings, their family support, and registered saving programs are being made up through working and then debt. And the debt, I've seen it in the North American press everywhere you go about the amount of debt that students are coming out of school with. So what Higher Ed Points has done, I'm proud to say, after a long road to make it come to fruition, we've now created an access point to a huge source of untapped currency. So all of those loyalty points that you have out there, that you've collected, that your friends have collected, now through Higher Ed Points are going to be converted into payments for college and university. And as of November 1st, Airline was our inaugural partner. So they came on board. We had a meeting probably 7 months ago with Airline, and they jumped right on board because they saw the need to find other sources of funding for higher education. And the wonderful thing so far about the launch is it's a win for everybody involved. So it's a win for the parents and students and families of people trying to get a higher education. If they can offset some of the cost of that higher education through using their loyalty currency, that's awesome. It's a win for the institutions, because their biggest challenge is keeping the students in school if they're facing financial distress. So they have other options now. When somebody goes to financial aid and says, "I'm about to be evicted," or "I have one slice of bread in my cupboard," they can say, ask your family and friends to convert some of the loyalty currency into payments for school. But also they can use it as a fundraising tool. So they can actually we have a category on the website for nice people, and they can actually ask small business owners or parents or friends of the institution to make donations into cash for the institution. And the foundations are loving it as well, because now they have another thing they can ask their former students for.
1 minute left.
Perfect. And the best part of all for this audience is it's a win for the loyalty programs, because it's a way to re-engage your existing member base. And the very first call I fielded was from a mom of a student who goes to University of New Brunswick, and she said, "I'm going to change all of my credit cards over now to Airline cards, and I'm going to start using all of Air Canada's flights to get my kids back and forth from school." So it's a way to increase the collection of the members. And then the third way it will increase revenue for the loyalty programs is it's going to engage the youth audience. A lot of the programs have a hard time attracting and engaging youth, and this is one way to get more cards in those younger hands. And everybody's going to get an education, so everybody in this room probably knows somebody that needs to help pay for school. And that's it. So thank you for mentioning the length of time. So when I used to work at Air Miles actually, and so the last thing I wanted to do was start another loyalty program. So when I put the concept together, I made it a burn-only concept. So there's no earning right now within the program. And in terms of the expiry thing, what we're going to be offering next, in Canada we have things called RESPs, I'm not sure what they're called in the US, but we're going to allow people to convert any accumulated currency into registered education savings plans, so they can do it as they go along. And then on the tail end, students will be able to continue or start collecting themselves and use it to pay down their student debt when they come out as well. And the pooling concept is one that's very fundamental, because I know students themselves aren't going to have enough currency to convert. So on the website, very prominently everywhere, we say ask for help. And so there's a form that they can fill out and send to up to 5 people at a time asking for donations of points. And they may not be willing to ask the road warrior down the street for $250 in a donation, but I'm sure they're going to be able to ask them for some points if they know they travel a lot. Thank you.
I'm a little confused. So I'm the guy running a loyalty program. Exactly how do I make money from this?
So, based on all the stats that have come out recently, when somebody redeems for something that they value in the catalog, they'll go and collect more points at a 30% faster rate. So if that's something, if that's a common stat that you've heard or something different, I'd love to talk about that.
So are you buying points from me?
Nope, there is a redemption option. So we're a line item in the reward catalog for any loyalty program. Airline was the first one. And their incentive is corporate social responsibility is an important piece of it. So it's good corporate branding to be associated with education. And they know that their members, they did a survey with their existing member base, and a very high number of their members were actually in school themselves or had a family member in school they were supporting financially. And I can't disclose the amount, but a very significant number said that they would use their loyalty currency to pay for that education, but they would also collect more as a result of that. So it's the new accumulation. The young people as well coming into the program will create a longer-term relationship with new collectors. And the other thing that's an advantage, I was in business development at Air Miles, it was always a challenge to get youth-oriented sponsors or partners into the programs. Having access to that youth community is going to create more interest in those partners coming into the programs themselves. And I've actually trademarked the term earn and burn while you learn, because we're going to be adding an earn component onto it as well. And SSI would be a great partner to be able to offer students the ability, because the youth market is very, very difficult to attract into surveys and things. Giving them Airline currency will help them engage in the programs that will be paid for as well. Currency will be paid for.
Thank you.
In terms of volume of redemption, and I assume one of the economic values is getting points off my books, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
depending on the program, yeah.
Okay, so what kind of volume are you really talking about?
Very good question. That's the question that my banker is asking me every day. And if I had the answer to that question, it'd be great. I'd go to the beach somewhere. I'll tell you in a year. I don't know right now, but the intent to use never equates exactly what people say they're going to do. But so many interesting things happened after we launched. Schools called me and said, can we use it to fund co-op students working overseas for their co-op term because they can't afford to go? Sure you can. We can convert some miles into a fund for those students at the school if you have people willing to donate them. We're in week 2 of the company.
I've just got one comment, which is more for you really to think about. Because I know, all right, the average Virgin Atlantic customer, flying club member, I'd like to think they're good people. They're like bored people. They're good people. But the reality is, this could end up being, oh yes, I collect Airline because I can help with my kids' education. It makes me feel good. The reality is, there's a whole bunch of benefits we offer, particularly experiential ones that sound great, like go to space and have a balloon ride, drive a Flight 41 car. Nobody ever does it.
Yeah.
That's why they say they're in the program. So there's a risk that you are at risk of donating your brand. Not that Airline are not a serious company, of course they are, but there's a risk the other ones that are going to end up just helping frequent flyer programs give better reasons to become collectors of miles to redeem on aeroplanes.
Yep, you're absolutely right. The difference, though, in this reward is that a bill comes due. If somebody doesn't have the payment, there's huge stress on them. And a lot of families, the average collector that we're going to target is the road warrior that has excess points that they'd love to give to somebody to help them to go to school. And it's almost an irrational redemption in terms of the value of that redemption, because $250 to a third-year student who's working full-time and going to school full-time will make a huge difference. And I know that if somebody asked us if they could have help, if I had an extra, stash of points around, certainly I'll do that. I don't need to go to Hawaii this year. I can help somebody go to school and get an education, and they can support me in my dotage.
Magdalene, you're looking as though you're going to ask a question, or is that... Are you?
Sorry, this is very interesting, yeah, but I still don't fully understand how you transform points.
The currency? Well, this is why it hasn't happened before. We're a line item in the Airline reward catalog. The member goes and redeems in the Airline catalog. They get a confirmation code, which then comes to my secure back-end processing partner, which is D&H. We take the payment from that transaction, and we actually have relationships with the institutions, and we actually transfer the $250 credit directly into the student's account at the school. So they're buying the reward from us.
Just one last question. At the end of the day, it's a cost. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. It's a cost. Yes, there might be some behaviour that drives more collection, but the bottom line is cost.
Yeah.
So this is essentially a charitable donation by a corporation to, in this case, a very noble cause. But as you're bumping into, though, aren't you, in terms of corporate responsibility, we've got a particular charity we prefer. So anything we were going to spend, any money we'd spend, we'd put it into that charity that we prefer.
But it's individual based, it's not the corporation. So it's based on the member and using their points.
It's a cost. So if a company's going to spend money in a redemption, or it's money out of bottom, this is money out of bottom line. So why not take that money and stick it straight into your preferred charity as an airline? Why not?
That's a good question, and I guess it depends on what your members want. So there's going to be a lot of social pressure. In fact, we've got a section on the site that says "Get My School on Board," because my biggest challenge right now isn't getting more loyalty programs on board. It's getting the schools on board because they have to participate.
Okay, I think, just to be fair to everybody, I think we could be here for hours.
Okay, so we're going to add airlines. Get my airline on board. That's the next one.
Okay, get your airline. So a round of applause.